What the hell is Robert Kiyosaki talking about?
I think the stock market is for losers. Never work for this. America's going to be the poorest country in the world. This is what keeps people poor. Why does my dad always say, go to school, get a job, work hard, pay taxes, save money? Why do that? You're going to see the biggest crashes happening right now.
Present day Robert Kiyosaki definitely has some hot takes, but this one piece of information that he shared completely changed my opinion on money. And this is that story. I'm an avid believer that success doesn't happen overnight. Rather, it's small victories over a long period of time. Day by day, these victories will eventually compound into something that's bigger than you ever imagined. And for Robert Kiyosaki, his ultimate victory was his world famous book, Rich Dad Poor Dad. But as the saying goes, you either die a hero or live long enough to become the villain.
What the do you want, man? Who the fuck are your friends, man? You hang out with poor people? You guys start lazy. You think it's easy? You think what I do is easy?
But to understand how Robert Kiyosaki got to this point, we have to rewind back to his glory days. I spent countless hours researching Rich Dad Poor Dad's archives so you don't have to. And out of the 50 plus hours of watch time, only 3 core concepts stuck with me, the third one being the most important. Talk to just about anyone about how to make money and the conversation will inevitably gravitate towards jobs. The first step towards building wealth is generating a basic income. If you have no assets and no skills to sell to the general public as of right now, a job is definitely the best way to produce cash flow. But the difference between the rich people and everyone else is that the rich don't stay in the job phase for very long. They realize early in their careers that to become rich, you have to be the one hiring people and not the one being hired. By contrast, the rest of us typically spend our lives in the job phase, and we're trapped once we believe that a job is the only way to earn money. That locks you into working for money for the rest of your life. But the rich learn the virtue of becoming business owners early, and running a business is more than anything else learning how to leverage resources and people to earn more than you could ever by exchanging your time for money. A profession and a business are two different things when discussing personal finance. Your profession pays your day-to-day living costs while your business grows your assets. For example, I'm currently studying engineering at McGill, but my side hustle, which is this YouTube channel, is completely unrelated to my degree. But it's thanks to my degree that I was able to land this internship, which allowed me to fund my day-to-day expenses and this side hustle. But in order to grow financially, you need to grow your assets, which is done through your business. Eventually, if the pros of your business outweigh the pros of your profession, then and only then can you decide to go all in on your business. But don't get me wrong, a job is an essential launching pad in your financial journey and could even be the final destination depending on your personal preferences and your career path. As a business owner, you gravitate towards your talents, which are those skills and abilities that give you an unfair advantage compared to everyone else. Once there, you can start outsourcing the work by hiring employees or hiring subcontractors to do the work for you. Essentially, you become an overseer of the business instead of a frontline worker. Let's take a space that I'm very familiar with, which is YouTube. All content creators start on the same page. They do the filming, editing, scripting, thumbnail, everything all by themselves, which surprisingly takes up much more time than expected. A typical video can range between 15 hours of work and 60 hours of work, depending on how much research you had to do for the script. But once they start gaining traction on their channel and have legitimate proof that this is a viable business model, then they start outsourcing the work. And it's through this outsourcing and using your resources that you hear all these successful people saying that they earn hundreds of thousands of dollars a week, all while working less than 10 hours a week. It's because they outsource most of the non-essential work. But keep in mind that it's not all roses and daisies. These people probably had 90-hour work weeks in the beginning of their journey. I sometimes feel like people are too generous with their money and not greedy enough. But before you jump to any conclusions, hear me out. I want you to ask yourself this question. When you receive a paycheck, who do you pay first? If you're like most Americans, you're paying everyone else first. You're paying your rent, you're paying your insurance, you're paying your car payments. This is all money going out of your pocket. Then once you're done paying all those bills, you stick with whatever you have left, if anything, and you put it in your savings. That's the classic paying yourself last scenario. But the rich actually do the complete opposite of this. They take pride in paying themselves first. Whatever money they earn by working long hard hours, they take a chunk of it and set it aside. And then with the money left over, and only then do they start paying other people. And if you're not able to do this, then I hate to break it to you, but
you're broke! You're fucking poor!
Just like most Americans, you probably fell in the trap of consumerism. Living above your means that your monthly bills are so high that you don't have a choice but to pay other people first, because if not, you would default on those payments. But think about it. If you don't have any money saved up, then you can't take any risks. And if you can't take any risks, then you're not able to change the trajectory of your life, because you're going to stay in the status quo. So the first step of financial independence is always prioritizing paying yourself first. As your savings and investments grow, so does the income they generate. Which brings us to the final and most important takeaway from Robert Kiyosaki, which altered the way I think about money. One of the behaviors that separates the rich, especially the self-made rich, and every other person is the emphasis on building assets and minimizing liabilities. Look at anyone who's a self-made millionaire, and there's a high chance that he or she spend most of their lives acquiring assets that generate income. This is the exact opposite of how other people think. They cave in the consumer mindset and the advertisement media and end up investing in personal possessions that they believe are assets. But quantifying what is considered an asset versus what is considered a liability can be challenging to some. Luckily, Robert Kiyosaki has a way of putting things in very simplistic terms. An asset, whether you're working or not, is something that puts money in your pocket. If you stopped working today, meaning that you stopped receiving a salary, from where would your money flow in? Lots of people reply with nowhere. This reality unveils a dangerous financial situation, where most people's financial well-being is solely dependent on a job or active work rather than a consistent stream of passive income, meaning that if you don't clock in a certain amount of hours, you just won't get paid. And that's when it hit me. I'm one of these people. During the summer, my cash flow is extremely positive thanks to my internship salary and my relatively low expenses. But once September comes around and my internship is over, my asset column goes completely empty and I'm still stuck with the same liabilities that I had before. The car payments, insurance, phone bill, they still have to be paid. And that's when I discovered Robert Kiyosaki's side-by-side flowcharts, revealing how the middle class manages their money versus how the rich do it. The middle class receives an income by trading their time for a salary, exactly what I was doing during the summer. Then this salary proceeds as a means of funding multiple liabilities, effectively leaving you with very low money to exit this vicious cycle, whereas the rich focus on acquiring assets that consistently pay them every month. And I'm sure acquiring these assets don't come easy, they come after a lot of hours of hard work. To break free from this vicious cycle and embrace Robert Kiyosaki's financial wisdom, you have to redefine your definition of wealth. Rather than seeing wealth as the accumulation of possessions, it should be seen as the accumulation of income-generating assets. This shift in mindset requires a fundamental change in financial behavior. It's all about asking yourself, what can I invest in that's going to actively put money in my pocket, whether I'm working or not? Typical assets acquired by the rich include income-generating real estate, businesses, and stocks. If you're wondering how you should invest in stocks, then you should check out this video where I explain Warren Buffett's proven investment techniques.